Hello, friends. I am Leo. This is my lovely wife, Chantelle, here. And as you know, we've been in the news for a number of reasons, but we're here to specifically do a part two of a video that Chantelle did describing how our money was taken from us.
Mhm.
And I guess we're calling this video the Vlasenko fraud,
Part two.
part two, something like this. Okay.
Part two, the Vlasenko fraud. And we're just going to go over, like I had explained in my previous video, that I'm going to be journaling what our process has been since we got here and how we ended up where we are today. And so we just wanted to share that with you guys. We want to share the facts of how things progressed with the Vlasenko family.
Mm-hmm.
And I have written down a bunch of notes, so pardon me while I read them to you, and we'll go through all of those details.
Okay.
All right.
And we'll comment once in a while that this is
Yes.
mainly, we're going to be reading this little thing that Chantel put together. I think it's really good.
Yeah. Okay, so this is all the way back. We're going to go all the way back and kind of overlap my last video back in December 28th, 2023. Daniil Vlasenko had assured us that he was the financial CEO of his company that he created with his best friend from high school. And he was the guy that handled all the money in the company. He explained that he dealt with several currencies, including US dollars and the cryptocurrency and euros, and I mean, several different types of currencies from other countries, and that it would be absolutely no problem for him to exchange our US dollars and crypto for rubles, because we were having issues getting the bank to accept our notes. If they weren't absolutely crisp, clean, brand new condition, they were not accepting them. And then the bank was also the exchange rate was not that favorable in the banks, but it was in the exchange
The
kiosks, I guess, or
kiosks in the
whatever called.
mall, mainly in Moscow, that's where they
Yeah,
were.
and so every time we wanted to do some exchanging, we had to travel all the way to Moscow to do it, and that was a 2 hour, at least a minimum of 2 hours for us to get there one way, plus getting back. So Leo and Vitaly Krillavich Vlasenko, who was our landlord at the time, were discussing these issues, and finally, Vitaly said, "Well, maybe my son can help you. I was talking to him about your problem, and he wants to talk to you. He wants to meet you. He's got a company, and he can help you." So he sent this information. I guess he shared your information with Daniel, and he
I reached out
connected.
to Daniel.
Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
reached out to Daniel, and they started conversing on the telephone via WhatsApp chats, because he doesn't actually speak very good English. He understands quite a bit, not perfectly, but he understands, and they would converse with translation through WhatsApp chat. So he explained that he would have no problem exchanging our money into rubles, and nothing would be illegal, and he could handle it quickly. So on the 28th, Daniel came down to Zendakova with his father and
That's where the
another
farm was.
another gentleman. This was where the farm was, where we were living on Vitaly's farmland. And he came, and they met, and they sat and talked for 3 or 4 hours.
Couple hours,
It was a
three.
long
Yeah.
time. And Daniel sat there persuading Leo of all of his company dealings and who he was in connections with in Moscow and the business community, showing him several photos on his phone, photo after photo of vehicles that he would purchase in other
Large
countries
trucks.
and bring them back to Russia and resell them at a higher price. And so this was the way that they invested to make money.
Short-term investments.
A lot of short-term investments. And anyway, Leo said, look, this guy can help us exchange all of our money into rubles. And so I personally did not want to do this. I didn't know this man at all. I mean, I literally just met him. And his father was this pastor who was our landlord. And he was a Baptist pastor. And supposedly he was the head of a group.
Okay, this is what Svetlana
event,
told us. She said he's a friend of Moscow Oblast Deputy Dmitry Vadomich Kuznetsov, and that he was a Baptist pastor. He spoke English, and he was a leader of a kind of a national kind of Baptist thing. And it turns out later we found out this was the Russian Evangelical Alliance. We have a lot to say about that, but that's not this video.
Right.
But we immediately thought we were in the hands of friends. Plus, he had been in America in the 80s.
Right. Yeah. So we really didn't know what to do, and this was, we felt like, what kind of the best option. Leo felt it was the best option, just to get everything done quickly, and that we would have our money, and then we could put it all in the bank at that point. So we handed our money over to Daniel with the agreement that he would exchange all of our money, the US dollars and the crypto, and he would be able to do that in one day. It wouldn't be a problem for him. And to me, when I handed over the money, I felt like I just lost my family. I just felt like such loss and sorrow in my gut, and I thought, this is not right. This is not how I should be feeling. Something's wrong, and I had no idea how wrong it would be at a later date. So I just ran off and well, we talked a little bit more about it. Leo and Vitaly were assuring me that everything would be fine. Don't worry, you'll get your money back. And yeah, it was just devastating. So anyway, Daniel took the money from us, and I went off, like I said, crying and not knowing what to do. But wait and see.
And this is where I greatly failed Chantelle, and I have since then seen that I was not making it a point to remain in agreement with my wife. And even if you have disagreements, the spouses should not operate independently. And I kind of, in a sense, forced her to go along with me. I mean, she could have stood back and said, "No, I won't," but she didn't. She didn't do it at the time. She just tried to do things in such a way that it actually made some sense. Like she ended up taking pictures of Daniel's passport and stuff. So, but it was really, I just really take full responsibility for just not listening to my wife when she was so upset. That was very inhuman of me, and I just want to let you know that I have seen this as a great mistake.
Right. It says that, if you don't have peace in a circumstance, then God is not in it. And God was not in this circumstance. He has used the circumstance for his good in many ways, which kind of feels strange, but he is doing something. He's using this situation to expose the lies of the enemy. He's using this to expose false pastors, and that's what's important. So even though we don't have our money still, God is moving. He is using us, and he's using this situation to expose people for who they really are. And we kind of came to know who some people really were over these days. Anyway, so the next day, Friday the 29th, Vitaly Vlasenko messaged me, and he notified me that Daniel was heading off to Moscow. This was at 12:30 to take care of his work and make the money exchange. And then at 4 o'clock, he sent me another message explaining that Daniel was headed off to now exchange the cryptocurrency. So 4:47, Vitaly sent me another message. He said, "Why don't you guys come up here to my house and meet Daniel here in the evening, and he will give you your money back." And I thought, oh my gosh, yay, I'm getting my money back. So Leo and I gathered our stuff together, and we got going immediately up to Domodedovo to meet Vitaly at the train station and go over to his house. Got a message at 7 o'clock. We were on the train at that point already, and we were on our way up to Domodedovo. He said, "Daniel has made it home safely with all of your money." And of course, like I said, we were already on our way. So at 7:35, we arrived in Domodedovo by train. And Vitaly picked us up at the train station. We then went directly to his house, and we started a meeting with Daniel. He basically took us upstairs and into like a family room area where we all sat, and he just gave us the money. He showed us the money, and he says, "Okay, now I would like to talk to you about an opportunity to invest in my company." So we all sat down and, discussed, he was showing me now the pictures that he had already showed Leo about the people and the vehicles. And he said, "Look, I will give you guys the same money that I make from the company,
Interest,
which is
the same
interest that you will make.
Interest rate.
28%, which is a very good rate. You will make 28% per year, which breaks down to 2.33% per month. If you want to, you can
compound it.
You can compound it into month after month, or you can take a monthly income, because I know that you're not working, you can't legally work right now, and I know that you could use some extra money. So I want to help you. I helped you with this. You can trust me. I've proven my trust to you, right? Here's your money." And this is how they win your confidence and your trust. So anyway, we sat there talking, and Vitaly and his wife ordered some Papa John's pizza. And so when it arrived, we went downstairs and we had dinner, and continued to kind of not really talk about it in front of the rest of the family, which would be Vitaly's wife and younger son. I forgot his name, but Stephen or something like that. Anyway, so they had literally like put this huge spread all over the table with food galore and desserts and all kinds of stuff. And it seemed like we were sitting at a king's table there, preparing for the victims, I guess. I don't know. Let's impress the American people.
We went for dinner and we were it.
Mm-hmm. So let's see here. So we discussed this investment opportunity, and I said I'm not making any agreement at this time. I'm not interested. And he said, well, why don't you guys spend the night? Why don't you think about it? And, if you're going to do it, you have to start by the first of the year. Now, at this point, it's December 30th. So it was December 30th. The next morning, we woke up, we had breakfast, and we got together and we talked some more. And at this point, let's see who all was in the house. At that point, we had more people of their family showed up. Their daughter and grandchild showed up. So we were meeting the entire Vlasenko family. Oh, look, we're a happy family. You can trust us. My daughter's helped you with your immigration process of
We're
getting
just like you,
registration.
Christians.
We're a good Christian family. And so there was really some serious manipulation going on there, which we didn't even realize. It was quite interesting. I mean, I was baffled. Like, wow, I mean, we get the whole family here.
I just wondered why his daughter had this kind of little snotty look on her face. Now, in retrospect, I wonder if she actually knew what was all going on. I would be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she supposedly helped Vitaly to get our registration done.
Because she works for the immigration
in Domodedovo.
She moved over to the other city.
Oh, Podolsk?
Podolsk, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's where I think you had to do it anyway.
She's an official.
Right.
She was watching us get ripped off. She's an official. Yeah. Anyway, let's carry on.
Yep. Okay, so let's see here. Let's skip down to where we are. So he expressed, he expressed that our money was a very small amount and that this would not be a problem for his company if we ever wanted to get our money back, which we said, absolutely, we want our money back. 1 quarter, we'll let you use the money for 1 quarter in the company, and then that would bring us to March. And by the end of that month of March, we want our money back with interest, compound interest. We don't need to take it. We don't need the money. We still have some money to work with. We'll have plenty to get by for a while. So we'll let the interest sit for the 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, we want our money back with the compounded 3-month interest. So I would like you to go over the agreement that you confirmed with him via WhatsApp, please.
Okay. When I started to realize that Daniel was not going to give us our money back, he outright told us he wouldn't give us our money back. He immediately started to try to develop a new form of a contract, a new deal, and we started to realize we're being manipulated. But it took us a while to realize how false everything was. I still, for let's say the first almost 2 months, I thought he had a legitimate, after, starting, April, May, and into June, he thought he had a legitimate business. He just wasn't handling his money properly or something. So I had given him the benefit of the doubt, and I thought he was a serious businessman. Okay, mm-hmm. So you'll see things where I'm actually talking to him and trying to deal with him. Now, when I realized that he was not going to give us our money back, I went back to the original nature of the contract. It's a short-term loan. Now, the short-term is not loan. No, it's a short-term investment. And here's the thing, is that the reason I could even justify this at all, I was thinking, okay, it's only 2.33% interest per month. If he's selling trucks and he needs operating capital, great. He's going to be making money on this. He'll be able to pay. So it was really quite logical for me. If he has truly had the business that he claimed he had, what we invested would not have been an issue.
Right.
But it turns out he'd had no actual product flow that we could detect or he's ever bothered to prove. Now, what I had to do is I had to somehow, remember, thinking that he was still a businessman, this is when I still thought this, I said, I've got to show him he's in breach of contract. So I very carefully said to him, look, I'd like to write something that will affirm the contract and let me know if this is really what our contract is. Okay, and I'll read that contract. And this is a print off of what I actually inserted into a WhatsApp chat. Let me show that to the camera. All that pink highlighting is this same document. Okay, now it's titled, it says June 16th, 2024, the investment arrangement, 5 million rubles. This is what I wrote. The investment opportunity that you offered to us was that we would lend your company 5 million rubles on a quarterly basis, that you would give us a preferred interest rate of 28% total per year, and that interest would be compounded on a monthly basis at 2.33%, starting on January 1st, 2024, until further notice, until such time that we would need to either draw our interest or, if we sought, to take back the principal. The principal would be committed on a quarterly basis, but the interest would be compounded unless drawn out by our request. This was the basis of the investment arrangement. Then I wrote additional details of the investment arrangement. You made it clear to us that you are the financial officer of your company and that due to your extensive dealings with financial institutions, that you have almost complete freedom to handle the financial flows of your business. You are the final authority in this regard, you assured us. Is this still true? And I put that in parentheses. With that in mind, you told us that at any time we needed money from interest earned on our investment, or even if we needed our principal of 5 million rubles, that you could return such to us. We also recognized that we needed to commit the principal on a quarterly basis, but that it would be returned upon request at the end of a quarterly business cycle. You describe the nature of your investments as relatively short-term, such as vehicles, heavy trucks, and other deals that you might broker between countries in the Russian Federation. You also showed us pictures of heads of state and or important players whom you are seeking to serve with your company. Recently, you mentioned that you are doing deals with Russian authorities in Moscow. Do you agree that this was the original contract that we decided upon when we lent you our money? Now, we didn't lend it to him personally. That's simply to be interpreted as gave to him as a representative of his company. That's how that's to be interpreted. So you can see everything that I just read to you is in pink. Then I write down here in blue, I'll read, Hi, Daniel. And this is on the 17th of June, 2024. Hi, Daniel. If this is a correct description of the arrangement, please affirm this. Once we affirm this, or modify the description of the original arrangement, I will let you know what is on my mind next. There are problems that we must discuss. So then, Daniel, right here, there's a little white line, and that's where Daniel deleted one message, but then he put another message here in yellow. Hi, Leo, that's right. And look at the little thumbs up. So this right here was an affirmation of the original agreement that we had. Unfortunately for us, we were not able to check the actual piece of paper that he wrote down, which did not reflect any of this except the interest arrangement. And even then, it didn't talk about the compounding interest, which was also omitted. Along with that, what he wrote didn't include any word about his company. There were no passport numbers, which are all legally required in business documents,
which we have found out.
Which we found out later. So that is the essence of that understanding that we had with him which caused us to be willing to hand over money to a guy. On top of that, we also had faith in them as fellow Christians. We're not Baptists, but we still have great respect for Baptists. I actually served in Baptist church, not being a specific Baptist, just a believer, somebody who's sincere. And I have very good friends in America right now who are Baptists. So we were it's called affinity scamming or affinity deception, where they use an image that you have a tendency to admire to then gain your confidence.
Right. Yeah, so they did quite a bit to, gain our trust. And we were pretty naive, unfortunately. There was a lot going on, coming to a new country and trying to figure out how to exchange your money, how to get settled when your plans fell apart. Apartment we were supposed to rent canceled on the day that we were flying to Russia, and then we got here and we expected a team of people that we were trusting in would help us, and
our immigration consultants,
that they would help us, to find an apartment, which they said they did, and they did try to show us. They showed us listings of apartments that were out of our price range. I kept telling them our price range, and she said, it would be too small. And I said, I don't care if it's too small. I don't want to be there long. I want a short-term, small apartment. And while we look for a house and buy a house, that's it. Pretty simple. You would think it would be pretty simple, but I guess nothing's simple in Russia.
It's not Russia. It's when people are hiding things, then things are not as simple as they appear.
Right. Well, I think there is some kind of a law that you have to have so much square footage per person to rent an apartment. You can't put a family of 5 in 30 square meters. You just can't really do it.
Maybe so.
But anyway, all right. So let's now go up to. So we agreed that we wanted to have our money back at the end of the first quarter, being at the end of March 2024. Daniel told us that this would never be a problem, and if we were ready to buy a home, we could have our money back. If we weren't ready to buy a home, that we could discuss another quarter of investment. And so I wanted the money back. Leo said, well, we don't have a house picked out yet. Maybe we should go one more quarter. And I said, yeah, I don't think so. I don't really want to do that. I want our money back now. Let's get our money back, put it in the bank, get a house. Let's get our life going.
And here's the thing. I just thought at the time that we were getting interest. We hadn't been, worrying about Daniel too much. But what it turns out is he had actually already done something with the money that was in breach of contract. We didn't know it. We just assumed he was still holding our money and he was an honest businessman. So even if we had talked about this and gotten it back right at the last day of the quarter, it wouldn't have been there. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. He said that, everything would be a win-win for everyone, and everything would work out fine. In my spirit, though, I kept feeling that it was a bad idea, and I didn't really want anything to do with it. I felt pressured.
She was
by Leo and Daniel.
Yeah.
So I had written up a contract too, by the way, that he did not want to sign, or he didn't want to sign because he says, well, that's all in English and it won't be legal. It won't be legal in the courts of anything. It has to be written in Russian. And
here, let me imitate what he looked like.
He rewrote it.
Let me imitate. When I handed him when we handed him the paper, he went like this. He went, oh, okay,
something like that. All right. We kind of got ahead of ourselves, so I'm just going to have to go back.
Just skip over stuff that's a repeat.
Right. Now, when we were signing the contract, his father, Vitaly Krillavich Vlasenko was the one who set everything up. And I asked him to sign the document, and he said, I don't want any part of this. This is not my deal. This is between you and my son. And I said, no, Vitaly, actually, you're involved. You're the one who set this whole thing up. You're the one who introduced us to your son. You're here. You should be signing this contract as a witness. And he's like, no, I don't want to be liable for anything. This is his deal.
Okay, and I just want to say one thing. Signing up as a witness makes you liable for nothing. All it says that you saw something. That's all it does. So this may be a sign that Vitaly knew it was fake, because if he says he doesn't want to be, he said to you specifically, I don't want to be liable. Did he say that?
Yes.
Okay.
He said, I'm not liable for his deal.
I'm not liable.
You and him and his company.
Okay.
So, you and him and his company.
Okay. So Vitaly knew it was off, because signing as a witness does not make you liable. Anybody knows this.
Right. I said as a witness.
Let's carry on.
So then I actually had the idea, prompted from the Lord, to take a copy of his ID and his passport. So I took pictures with my phone. I have those. Yeah. And then that was basically it. We had 6 million rubles altogether, a little bit over 6 million rubles. And he wanted to take it all.
He wanted every penny of it.
And I said, no, Daniel, we're going to need money to live off of. We've got expenses.
Goes, oh, yeah, I forgot about that part.
We would like to buy a car. We have expenses, so we're going to need some of the money. So we ended up taking 1 million rubles. And that didn't last very long. Gosh, expenses. Even though we were living on the farm at what you would call free, in exchange for the work, there were a lot of expenses, and even more since then, since we were having to fight this problem. But anyway, okay, so I just lost my spot. Bear with me.
Okay, you did that. You did that.
Yeah. So okay. So that was the end of that issue. Vitaly drove us down to his farm where we lived in Zendikova. And I have to state here that this was actually an illegal registration. And this was a big concern for us and other people. We were registered at the house
in Domodedovo.
In Domodedovo at Vitaly's house, but we lived on his farm down in Zendikova.
Which there's no legal right for people to live on this type of farm, but there are little houses there, and the officials kind of overlooked things.
Yeah, and this is pretty common, I guess, depending on who you are and who you know. It's kind of interesting. I don't really understand this, but it is what it is. And so the authorities knew about this situation. The police in Domodedovo came knocking on his door. Where is this family that's registered with you? And he explained, well, they're not here. They're on my farm. I hope that's okay. And they said, yeah, fine, okay.
And then also the Kashira authorities talked to him about it. And he told us of both these interactions. These are things that Vitaly told us, that everybody knows that's illegal and everybody's okay with it, and I'm okay with it. Yeah. And I was thinking, I don't know if I'm quite okay with it.
Right. Yeah, we're not really okay with it. And I was like, Leo, we've got to buy a house so we can be legally registered.
Doesn't seem good.
We've got to buy a house. We have to buy a house. So this was my issue. And it would also help us with our documentation and getting our RVP, our temporary resident permit. There was a lot of things that it would help with. And so that was my goal. Get legal. At this point, we thought that our lives were pretty much on the right track. I mean, we were living on this farm. We were able to save the money. We were making some money now through interest. Things seemed pretty good. But it was a really harsh winter there. God helped us through. God had put us on this nice little farm. It did need work. Leo did some improvements for the rent. Um,
And we work with animals.
and we worked with the animals. Oh my goodness, the animals. We're going to get to that. But first, I want to cover. I started to try to find a vehicle. I really, really wanted a vehicle because it was not the easiest thing to get to and from the store. Of course, even getting a vehicle, it would be very complicated to get out of this like quarter of a mile driveway. And so I was
Muddy
trying to
driveway.
figure out like
Muddy,
what
snowy.
vehicle would be best for us. And I started sending photos to everybody, to Vitaly. Vitaly, what do you think about this vehicle? And to Svetlana and to Irina Popova. Hey, can you guys please help me find a vehicle that will be suitable for my family? And so I tried several times to get people to help me, and nobody was helping me. Uh, there was one weekend that Irina said, okay, send me as many vehicles as you want to look at, and we will do what we can to go through the list and see which ones are going to be suitable and which ones are not, which ones are legal. If there's any paper issues, we'll know the problem and we'll toss those aside. So we had arranged to go to Moscow. I think that was at the Christmas party, and that was when
No.
It was after the Christmas
No,
party.
no, it was a separate trip.
It was a separate trip. Okay, we were going for two reasons. It was the vehicle and one other reason.
A separate trip. Yeah, we had to meet them, and okay.
Yeah, so we had arranged to go and look at a couple cars, and when we got to the car dealership, I was like, "This isn't a car on my list. I didn't pick this car." And she's like, "It'll be a good car for your family." I'm like, "This is a little teeny tiny sedan. I've got teenage boys. They're not going to fit in this car for too long. Are you kidding me? This is not suitable on the farm. I wouldn't be able to get in and out with the snow." So that really upset me. But and then we went and looked at like two other cars, and they were not going to work out at all. Like one was a rust bucket, and the other one had problems too. There was all kinds of issues.
I would say things, but I'm just not going to.
Yeah.
Let's just carry on.
So in the long run, I felt like it was just like a blessing in disguise that I couldn't find a car, because we really would not need the extra expenses, of trying to maintain some vehicle that's, 15 years old, and I can't afford to buy a brand new car. Who can nowadays with the sanctions and how much they've raised the prices of vehicles here? It's insane. Anyway, I also continually tried looking for a home to buy. I sent many of them to Svetlana and Irina, and I asked them to look and tell me if this is a house that we could purchase. Many of them were in categories that we wouldn't be able to buy. If it was a dacha, you can't buy because nobody can register there, so on and so forth. So that was really
that legislation may have changed.
That was really disappointing.
That may have changed. I think it may have. I heard of something, but let's just carry on.
Yeah. So Irina told me, though, over and over again, that she would help me find a suitable home and that she would have her team call about the homes that I sent to her. I did get some feedback, but she never arranged for us to go and look at a house.
Which is ironic because her husband has a real estate business.
Right. Supposedly he's a real estate agent.
So why weren't we getting at least something?
Yeah, she said much later that, well, my husband has a list, but you have to get your money back. Then we'll talk about showing you homes.
Well, and that. Okay.
So what are they?
That anyway. Was an issue. Mm-hmm.
So Svetlana and Irina said that we couldn't buy a house really until spring anyway. This was
before we realized our money had been stolen from us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. She said, nobody's going to show you a house. It's the holiday season. Nobody wants to deal with selling houses during the winter. You should probably just wait till spring, because In the spring, the prices will go down. It'll be easier to get in and out looking at homes. It won't be all muddy. It's kind of a mess to deal with right now. We don't have time for this. So I said, okay. And I talked to Tim Kirby. I said, Tim, can you maybe help me find a real estate agent or something? So he sends me a contact of his. He says, here, contact this guy. So I did. And he was a real estate agent in Moscow, and he doesn't even show houses in the Moscow region. So that wasn't very useful. But anyway, I said, well, we don't have the money, so let's wait until we get our money back, and then I'll really get serious about looking for a home. Although I kept looking at ads, it just wasn't going to happen for us. So, so we went through that whole issue. That wasn't very considerate of the whole team, but we didn't have our money at this point, so whatever. The winter on the farm was really brutal. Vitaly didn't seem to know how to handle his farm. He was allowing his goats to inbreed. He tried butchering a goat with a dull knife, which traumatized the goat and Leo a lot. I don't know if you want to get into that, but the goats had, here's the biggest problem that we had to deal with, was that the goats were breeding at the wrong time of the year. Therefore, the goats were having babies in January.
In the middle of a hardest freeze.
In the middle of a very severe winter down there. And we had to bring all the babies and
the mothers
inside so that the babies could milk their moms and not freeze to death. I think we lost about half of the goats and sheep. We lost one mother sheep had, was it triplets? And lost two of them, a little brown one and later a little white one. Only one of them survived. And then
filthy conditions in the barn too.
And then the same thing with goats. We lost several goats, and we had gone to Moscow for an overnight trip, and the other people that were there, two other people that were there, an older lady and a young man who had alcohol issues, they got completely obliterated, drunken, in a drunken stupor. They forgot to take care of the animals. They were so drunk they passed out for 24 hours. The guy wouldn't even get up and feed the animals, and then we lost, I think, another two at that point.
I know we lost one. I remember one. Let's not overdo it. Let's not go into that.
So it was a really bad winter, and Leo had to get up with this guy every 2 hours to feed.
No, wait a minute. Wait, let me say this. I don't like the way you're presenting this because I wasn't unthankful to do this. Okay.
I didn't say you were.
Okay, but it sounds like complaining, and I want to just kind of turn this.
It was just hard.
But let me tell this part, okay? Because I want to say this.
Hard winter.
I was happy to get up, and every we had shifts. Mm-hmm. I would get up, I would stoke the fire, and then I would feed the baby, then I'd go to bed, and then he would get up in another 4 hours, and we would switch off throughout the night. We did this for a couple, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And Vitaly had never told me to do this. I was just taking care of his animals, trying to keep them from dying. And now here's another thing I do want to say, that it was hard to keep the places warm because they're not fit for good winters. And we had to use the wood that we purchased to keep ourselves warm, to keep those goats warm. And never once were we encouraged by Vitaly. He never said, hey, can I help pay for this? It's just like he just accepted that everything was good. I'm saying I did what I had to do to do what was right by Vitaly. Now that's another problem because he cheated us on electricity, but that's not this video. Let's not go into that.
Right. Well, he also actually was mad at us for bringing the goats in.
Oh, don't bring the babies in here. Would you want them to freeze?
They're freezing to death.
Let's not get into Vitaly. Can we just leave them alone?
Their ears got frostbite. Can you just go over a little bit?
Yeah.
You're taking the frame again. Anyway,
let's just not get into Vitaly.
He was a mess. He doesn't know how to handle animals at all. He didn't know how to handle his horse. His horse is a problem. There were a lot of problems there that we had to deal with, and people, you say that we're wimps and complainers and whiners. Well, you have no idea the things that we had to deal with. So just saying, there's a lot there.
More than we're saying right now. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
All right. So we survived the winter and we got through it all. Excuse me. It was coming to the end of the first quarter, and I wanted our $5 million in interest back. Mm-hmm. And when Leo finally agreed with me in April, he and Daniel started talking, and Daniel told Leo that he had turned and invested our money into a long-term property real estate investment, and that we would not be getting our money back until June or July. Yeah, that was a freak out moment for me. I started to freak out, and I came to realize that we would be dealing with a scammer here. Just as I feared, all my instincts had been correct, and every time that we spoke to him, he had a reason why we couldn't get our money back. Leo finally started to realize it sometime later when Daniel and he continued, communicating about the issues
on WhatsApp. And that's where I wrote that little section. I went through a project of confirming the original contract, confirming the second one we were talking about, and then I had a third letter which I demanded our money back based in breach of contract. But when I wrote that, I still assumed him to be an honest man, possibly an honest businessman who's just mismanaging his company.
Right.
So it took me a little while to actually realize none of it was true.
Yeah, so the more that Leo talked with Daniel, the more that we came to realize his games and his delay tactics. And Daniel always had some reason that he couldn't pay us. He asked me, said, well, I would like to pay you some money, but I need your account number. And I said, Daniel, you can use my phone number. This is my phone number. I have a spare bank account. You can transfer money directly to my account. He said, well, let's meet. And I said, well, yeah, why don't you come on down to the farm? Since, you have our money, please come down to the farm and meet with us here, and we'll discuss the problem. And he refused to come. He said, well, I'm too busy during the week, and on the weekend, well, those are my days off, so I shouldn't have to come to you on my time off. And I said, well, you're the one who has our money. Please come. You came down and collected the money. Now please come down and talk to us about our money. And he always had an excuse. There was several of them.
Like now. But go ahead.
Right. Like he still does. Mm-hmm. So
it's always our fault that he has our money, but go ahead.
Now, in June, we met with Irina Popova. We had to go and pick up our, applying for asylum status in June. We received it in July. So we were going to the office, and after that we had a meeting with Irina, and she said, okay, I'm ready to start helping you guys find a home. My husband is a real estate agent, and he can help us find a home for you and get this dealt with. And we said, well,
wait a minute. You're not telling it quite right. You're not telling it quite right, because I told her already in mid-June that our money was no longer under our control.
That's what I'm saying right now.
But this meeting, I told her I wouldn't tell her until the end of June, because I was expecting Daniel to make good on what he had told us. But since he didn't do it at that time, I said, after June, I will tell you. So this is where we now had a meeting with, this is not it. Oh, this is your meeting.
I was just going to explain this
okay, I'm sorry.
Exactly
carry on.
What you just said.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
We were there, we had lunch, and she said,
that was I wasn't part of this meeting here. This was only between you and Irina.
No. This was the point where we brought up, well, Irina, we don't have our money right now. And she said, what? Why don't you have your money? And we said, well, we'll tell you more about it later. And it was at this point that we had to inform her that we don't have the possession of our 5 million rubles. So she said, okay.
See, I have a problem with this because I don't know. See, I'm the one who told her on a chat that I couldn't tell her yet. But then you got together with her and told her more, or somehow you had a conversation with her and told her more but we hadn't fully disclosed it yet. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, it was on my birthday. Yeah, it was on my birthday. Actually, we had a birthday lunch. She bought me lunch for my birthday on
Okay, and
June
that was between you and
21st.
her. I wasn't there.
Yeah, that must
Okay.
have been it because you told her on the chat. Okay.
Right.
And then I told her in person. I said, "Well, somebody has our money, and we'll tell you more about it."
June 20th.
That was June 21st.
21st.
June 21st is my birthday. Don't forget, it's coming up someday. Anyway,
Sooner than later.
so it was at that point that we said, okay, let's have a meeting. We're going to wait until the end of the month. And if we don't hear from him about getting our money back, then we're going to have a meeting with you if he doesn't come through with his word.
And we'll
Guess
tell you
what?
everything.
And we'll tell you everything. So we arranged on June 30th, actually, to meet Irina and Svetlana Rose at the mall, at a mall. I can't remember which one it was, but at a mall in Moscow. We would meet to show them the contract that Daniel had written to us with the investment of our money being taken. At this point, we found out that it was fraudulent. So Irina looked over the document, and immediately it was a disaster.
Her first response was this. He did this on purpose.
He did this
That's
on
the first thing.
purpose.
Now,
Yeah.
this was Svetlana translating. So everybody has to understand, Svetlana sat with her husband, Stan Fillin, Jerry Garcia, Joe Garcia, and Kevin Michelizzi in the background. They all sat around and slandered us for an hour and a half. Svetlana pretended she knew nothing. She was there
everything
from the beginning, translating for immigration consultant, her fellow, Irina Popova. Svetlana knows everything.
She knew a lot. I don't know how much
And
everything.
why didn't she stand up?
Yeah.
To defend us?
Mm-hmm. I was going to talk more about that
in
a few.
I'm going to back off.
Okay. So we met at the mall with Svetlana and Irina. Svetlana was our translator. She sat there telling us, because Irina does not speak English, she needed a translator. So she looked over the document and knew immediately what had happened. She told us that Daniel had written the contract as a loan and that it would be very difficult to prove otherwise. Leo explained that he and Daniel had many chats about the fact that it was, in fact, supposed to be an investment, not a personal loan of any kind. So we had proof.
And I've read you some of that proof earlier.
Yes. So Svetlana was our translator, and she was very aware of this situation with the letter. She is the one that was helping us to communicate with Irina. We always had to have Svetlana present at any of our immigration issues
in meetings in Moscow.
When we applied for quota, when we applied for registration, when we got documents translated, when we had to take our documents to the notary. She was there. She was there, several times at several meetings, and she knew a lot about our situation. If she wasn't available for some reason, which I'll tell you about that one in a minute, that we would have to use a Yandex app to translate for us. And it's not always a very good translation, by the way. But after the meeting with Irina and Svetlana, we realized the facts that we had been completely scammed, and it would be very challenging to get our money back from Daniel and his father. Irina had agreed to try to help us talk with Daniel and to arrange for the return of our money. So she called Daniel and she set up a time for us to all meet in Moscow. This was on July 11th, 2024. Excuse me. Leo and I, Irina Popova, Daniil Vital'evich Vlasenko, and his business partner known as Yuri sat at Cafe Chocolat
Chocolate.
while they indulged in chocolate and talked. We sat there earnestly listening and trying to pick up any notes that we could. Now, let me tell you that we had no translator that showed up that day when we needed her the most. There was no translator, but she had to go on a trip with her husband. I don't know. They went on some vacation trip that they had. I don't know. Maybe it was some business meeting. I'm not really aware of that
We
situation.
don't know why she
but
wasn't there.
it should have been rescheduled for a day that she should have been there, because we sat there not knowing anything that was being said.
Correct. Okay.
We sat there for an hour while Daniel and Yuri told Irina their side of the story, and then Irina told them how things would really go for them, for us. Now, not knowing the Russian language at this point was very devastating for us because we could not understand them. But I did pick up a few words here and there. I heard President Putin, I heard decree. There were a few things that I understood that she was saying, how we were being used in the media, and, you probably don't want to hold this family's money. You should probably pay them. But anyway,
We think that's what she said.
we don't really know.
We don't really know.
But we know that
We would
those
like to
things
think
were
she's-
mentioned. I know that those things were mentioned. I could tell. And she's like, She actually said, don't act like you know what they're saying, because you shouldn't. You shouldn't know what they're saying. I thought to myself, why shouldn't I know what they're saying? This is my money. Why did she make that comment?
Okay, I don't listen. There's no way you can make anything out of this because you really don't know. It's just weird to hear. I just don't know.
She typed up something on her phone and she showed it to me, and she said, "Don't act like you know, or don't show that you know what they're saying." This was a very strange comment.
Yeah.
I don't know why she said that.
Okay.
I'm not going to pretend anything other than what I know. Didn't make any sense.
Sometimes you just feel like the idiot in the crowd,
Yeah. So Irina and Daniel came to an agreement that he would start paying us back in installments and pay us in full by the end of the year. Now, Daniel went and changed his decision on that and would not agree to the terms.
Just a second. Now, I need to make this clarification. I told Irina from the very beginning, and I told...
Let me finish, then you should say it after this.
Okay.
Daniel had been trying to trick us into signing new contracts with him. Now Irina was trying to get us to sign a new contract, and then that way he would be able to get out of his criminal activity that he was committing against us. Now,
okay,
so he created a fake contract, and under a fake business. Okay. Daniel had no business other than scamming people.
Okay, so here's basically the original contract that he wrote was fraudulent because it didn't reflect the actual conversation, as I have already shown. Mm-hmm. He was trying to get us to come under a new contract that then would erase the original one. And then now what Irina Popova told me he would do is agree just to pay interest, and then after a while he would go to the court and say, I've already paid them a bunch of interest, I'm not going to pay them anymore. She basically said it was a way for him to weasel out of giving us the principal. So I already told Irina, I said, and I told Daniel, I said, you are getting no new contract. We have a contract that you must fulfill. Now, the thing about it, when I said that to him, I still thought he had a business. When his friend, his partner, Yuri, showed up, I thought that was his business partner. I still thought they had a business, okay? So I was still trying to deal with them as businessmen who were doing wrong. I now realize that it's very good I didn't go into a new contract, because the original contract was completely fraudulent. Mm-hmm. So they actually, right now, the Vlasenkos possess our money, they say, illegally. Right now. Mm-hmm. This is not an issue of being paid back. This is an issue of theft.
Yes.
Because we did not give them give him a personal loan. This was to be an investment in a business, which now we understand did not exist. So they actually right now possess our money illegally.
Yeah. And we're going to come around and talk about that a little bit more towards the end, about some other things that are being said. So now, here's something that Vitaly told us. He said, Vitaly introduces people to Daniel.
Businessmen.
He said, Vitaly introduces people to him under kind of false information, and they work. It seems that they're working together. It seems.
But what did Vitaly say?
Yeah.
He said something very specific.
He said some stuff. Now, I'm going to get to that here in just a second. They get that. Oh my goodness.
Just scan.
They basically, I think I explained to you guys what a Ponzi scheme is, and what it is it's like a pyramid scheme in Russia, they call it, but it's when they say, okay, well, we're going to get more investments, and then we pay our investors interests, and we keep getting money in order to pay the people their interests. But at what point are people asking for their full investment back? I need my original investment back. How do they deal with that?
They never do. They just
never
keep
do.
feeding the interest and say, we're trying.
I'm trying so hard to get your money. He actually sent me that message.
I'm
trying hard, Chantelle, to get you your money back. You're not trying anything other than to lie to me. Mm-hmm. So Vitaly had told us on several occasions, he mentioned this. He said that he introduces his son, whom he said had a business. Vitaly said that he started this business with his best friend from school. But what he does is he continues to tell people, he told us several times that he has introduced several businessmen to Daniel who has invested in his company. He told us, like, one day, it was like right before we left, I asked him, Vitaly, when is your son going to give us our money back? And he said, he's planning to pay you back. Don't worry. It has to be a win-win situation. Everybody has to win in this situation.
He said, we're going to pay you back, but we're looking for new investors to be able to pay you.
He said this several times. He said, we're looking for new investors, and when we get new investments, then we can pay you back. Ponzi scheme.
That's a Ponzi scheme.
That's the Ponzi scheme. We get more investments, then we'll pay you back. And, your amount is small compared to these people who are millionaires. They're millionaires. They'll be able to,
basically
give
Vitaly
bigger money than you. Yours is a drop in the bucket.
Basically, Vitaly was using his, let's say, social stature as a reverend and as some kind of pastor or something, or whatever his thing is, to dupe more people. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Right. So
that's how we see it.
We see them both as deceivers. I know. Yeah. So Vitaly said he made many deals and he seemed to be doing well for himself. And after receiving our money, it was right before, it was at the end of the year, right? And 2023. Guess what happens right after that? Christmas. And Vitaly bragged to me. He bragged literally how they had such a wonderful. I said, hey Vitaly, how was your Christmas? Did you guys have a good Christmas?
What he said was, Daniel said, he said, my son must be doing really well because for the first time ever, he actually got us very expensive gifts. He usually just gets us like a little chocolate bar and gives it for Christmas. But this time he gave us really nice gifts.
Lavish.
And I thought,
lavish gifts.
Sounds like he's actually maybe making money. I mean, I wasn't against this.
Yeah, we thought, okay, well, great. He's doing well. That means we're doing well.
Right.
Because he's got our money.
Yeah, he was doing well, all right. Carry on.
So anyway, Vitaly set this whole deal up. He's the one who introduced us to his son. He invited his sin. Yeah,
His
that's
sin.
yeah.
Go ahead.
That was not intentional, but maybe God knows.
Freudian slip. Yeah,
He invited us to his home to make the deal under his roof. He invited us to stay in his home for the night. He fed us dinner and breakfast. He drove us back to the farm. Vitaly always made excuses for Daniel. He tried to hide the fact that he knew what was going on. He continually told us that Daniel was planning to pay us back, but it was going to have to be that win-win situation for all. I guess the fact of the matter is that they won. They won with our money.
And we win if we keep our mouth shut.
Right.
And don't get deported off his land.
Yeah. So it was September 2nd. We finally realized that maybe our life was in danger. A lot of people were saying, a few of our friends were saying, you guys, you need to get off the property in order to pursue, to get your money back. A lawyer had told us you need to get off the property so that you can legally draw up a case against these people and report it against them at the police. You don't want to be there illegally. They could have you deported. There were all kinds of issues that were starting to arise. So we said, okay, we've got to start looking for a place. So we went to Kolomna, and you guys know that we visited Kolomna. We've got videos, we've got footage. We ended up moving there to this other farm, which I'm not even going to bring that up right now. But we got off of that land, and now we're
away from those people.
We're in Ivanova, but we were able to finally in late September, we were able to file police report and get things rolling. At least we thought we did. But anyway, now on October 10th, we were up in Krasnova at that time. We were up in Krasnova. Is that the right name?
Krasnova. With Father Ignati.
Yeah. And then Deputy Dmitry Vladimir Kutnetsov told Leo that our debtors had come to him. Now remember, he introduced us to the our debtor, and so he came and he said that he was going, because I think you had reached out to him and said, look, something's going on, we need your help. Vitaly's got our money. So he, I guess, had contacted Vitaly.
We don't know. We don't
supposedly, possibly. We don't really know who contacted who there in that particular
but
situation.
He said, but your debtors came to me. Now, when he says came to me, I picture him sitting in his office at the Duma and somebody's coming to him. Now, if that's not what happened, I don't know. Maybe they were meeting for lunch, or maybe they're having a banya. I don't know. I mean, who knows what it means? But it just means they came. Okay, that's it. I don't know really what it means.
They met together, and Vitaly said, I'm going to take the responsibility, and I'm going to make sure that this debt is paid by the end of the year.
December 2024.
That's what was told. Yes.
And that's what the deputy told us, that he was counting on Vitaly to handle the issue and it would be over. Yeah. That's what he said.
So we were pretty hopeful.
That was the promise that Vitaly made to the deputy.
We had hope. But guess what? The end of the year came and it went, and the Vlasenkos broke their promise to the deputy. Okay. Vitaly had told me on several occasions that once Daniel had more interest or more investors in his pocket. Okay, I already said that. And now, all right. Well, that's pretty much it. Let's see here. We have asked for proof of the business. I'm going to come back to that piece. We have asked for proof of the business when he gave us in June. We asked him for a receipt for the money that he sent to us.
Some kind of paperwork, some official paperwork from his company.
We said, we need to know the name of the company. We need the address.
Something that we could sign that we got the money.
To prove documentation. He's never, ever proved the company to anyone. Where is this money gone off to?
No proof of investment.
No
you know,
proof of investment, no
no.
documentation.
Just words, 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 and delay.
When we had at one point we asked Leo had asked Vitaly, what is the name of Daniel's business? He said he doesn't have a business. He doesn't have an
He says
actual
he
business.
works.
He works
He
for
says he
somebody
works
else.
under others.
He works under somebody else.
Right.
Who, Vitaly? I don't know.
What he says, well, I can't really tell you.
I can't tell you.
That's secret information.
Yeah.
He didn't say that, but I mean,
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. I don't know.
Maybe he actually knew who he worked under.
Right. Joe Biden?
Joe Biden had his son working under him.
Right. I think that, as I've said many times before, I feel like Vitaly is a Joe Biden and that Daniel is like Hunter. He's doing all the dealing for daddy. And that daddy is really the head honcho behind the whole deal. Now,
it's possible.
That's just my thought.
It's probable, in my opinion.
It just seems that, a lot of the evidence that we've gotten seems to point that way since Vitaly, we found that Vitaly had taken some of our money for electric bill fraudulently. We gave him our tithe, and which turns out maybe we should not have done that.
Okay, hold on.
There's a lot of things.
Don't let me shut you down. I really need to say something here.
No, go ahead.
Okay. It's a thing that we know a lot. See, we're kind of throwing some stuff out there which we're not ready to substantiate in this video.
Okay, yeah, right.
And so this is where I'm trying to shut you down a little bit, because the purpose of this particular video is to show what the Vlasenkos did. Now, yes, we do believe that this is an ongoing fraudulent manner of business that the Vlasenkos have been doing for possibly over 10 years, maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
Witnesses have come forth. We found out that even the farm was taken by a situation where Vitaly was part of a church leadership that was unregistered. Some lady wanted to donate her property to the church. Vitaly put it under his name since they had no incorporation papers. Then he left the church and he took the property. So the property we were staying on, by that calculus, is stolen. An embezzled church donation. No, I just don't want to go any further than this. Okay. And this is done by a credible witness has told me this.
Yeah.
So that's all we're going to say at this point about the situation.
There was a lot of fraudulent issues.
We will cover Vitaly
on another one.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. And here's my last words is we would like that anybody who knows this family, who is willing to give any kind of information about if you've made investments with them, if you have made any kind of dealings with these people, if you know of anything that is not clean and dirty dealings, we ask that you would please come forward. Either contact us, contact the authorities, but if you can send us any information that would help our situation and our case to get our money back, to prove the fraudulent activities of this family, any of them. I don't care if it's his wife. I don't care if it's his daughter, anybody. We need as much evidence. And if you guys could reach out to us on our Telegram channel.
Just right there. LeoHareRussia at Telegram, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just send me a note, and we will keep it confidential and private, and the only people will know who gave us the information will be the law enforcement authorities, but we will not publish your names and anything like this unless you want us to.
Yes. So if you can, again, just contact us. We would appreciate all the support. We've appreciated all of the people who do support us, who do believe in the problem. We are moving forward with our lives, with or without our money. We want our money back, absolutely, and that which they now really owe us. They owe us more than just the 5 million, because we have gone through a lot of pain and a lot of suffering over this issue. Our children have suffered. Leo's got problems with his teeth. My boys, they have desires and needs of bikes and
we can't buy them
bed,
the things they need.
Proper bed for my son. He's sleeping on a broken couch.
Okay,
there's all kinds of problems. We really need
our money back.
We need our money
period.
back.
We don't need sympathy.
We appreciate your support.
We don't need sympathy. We need our money back, and that's what we're asking for at this time.
We appreciate you guys. So whatever you can do to help us, we appreciate it. Prayers, absolutely need those that are good. And we rebuke any hand of the enemy in Jesus' mighty name. So we thank you, we praise God, and have a good one. Should we share more later?
Show them our nuts?
Oh, well, yeah.
We are actually trying to earn some money in this wonderful, wonderful place. We both have jobs, but if you guys do want to support us financially, we do sell our nuts. We're designing new packaging, new labels, trying to figure out how to get these marketed properly, but we make cinnamon roasted nuts. They're very unique compared to what the Russians sell here. Everybody who tries them absolutely loves them. So anyway, we have cinnamon roasted pecans, cashews, and almonds. And if you can look at the barcode there, you can scan the barcode and go straight to our Telegram channel, and you're able to order it. There's a phone number on there also that you're welcome to call and place an order. You can send text message if you're Russian and you don't speak any English. We appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. God bless you, and paka paka.